taking a little nap right now. So
Oh, good.
out of commission. So we'll definitely be able to get some new readers that haven't read in a while. All right, we're back on, everyone. Shalom, everyone. Sorry for the long intermission, but we were just having too much fun off the record here. So we're gonna have two new readers here. Let me see here. I was gonna ask Sister Josie, would you like to read chapter 37 of Job?
Okay, yes.
Oh yeah, I'll give you time. No problem.
Chapter 37. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me go.
Man, throat today.
Oh, I woke up with my allergies all week. Let's see. So 37.
Get the right compare.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Job, chapter 37. At this too my heart trembles and leaps from its place. Listen to the trembling of his voice and the sound that comes from his mouth. He lets it loose under all the heavens and his lightning to the ends of the earth. After it a voice roars. He thunders with the voice of his excellency, and he does not hold them back when his voice is heard. El thunders wondrously with his voice, doing great deeds, which we do not understand. For he says to the snow, be on the earth, also to the gentle rain and the heavy rain of his strength. He seals up the hand of every man for all men to know his work. Then the beast goes into its lair and they stay in their dens. From the room of the south comes a whirlwind and cold from the scattering winds of the north. By the breath of Yahuwah, ice is given. I'm just changing the TS 2009 because it says EL to Yahuwah is given, and the expanse of water becomes solid. He also loads the thick clouds with moisture. He scatters his bright clouds, and they swirl about, being turned by his guidance to do whatever he commands. He commands them on the face of the earthly world. He causes it to come whether as a rod or for his hand or for loving commitment. Listen to this, O Job. Stand still, consider the wonders of Yahuwah. Do you know when Eluah placed them and caused the lightning of his cloud to shine? Do you know the balancing of the clouds, the wonders of the one perfect in knowledge? Where are your garments hot when the earth is stilled from the south? Did you with him spread out the clouds strong as a hard mirror? Teach us what we should say to him. We do not set an order because of darkness. Should he be told that I would speak? Would any man ask to be swallowed up? And now they shall not look on the light that is bright behind the clouds, when the wind has passed and cleared them. From the golden north it comes, from Eluah is awesome excellency. The Almighty, we have not found him out. He is exalted in power and right ruling, and great in righteousness. He does not oppress. Therefore men fear him. He does not regard any who are wise of heart. Yeah.
So that's it, huh? That was a quick chapter. I like the Septuagint. Now I'm assuming the is actually there in the Greek. I would have to check, but I'm assuming if the's there, that makes it a little bit more specific. Meaning the Alua is there, or the mighty one shall thunder wonderfully with his voice. Who's the voice of Yahuwah? Interesting. So this is a good book, and I guess this is one of the reasons why. Do you know any sects of Judaism, Mom, that considers Job scripture? Is there
I
any?
don't know it or not know it. If you know what I
Okay.
mean, I'm not sure.
I'm just
I'm not
curious.
sure what they think.
I'm just
about
curious.
that.
Okay. If they do, I would like to show them this verse with his voice.
Mm.
For he has done great things which we knew not. Now that's a little different there, isn't it? Which we cannot comprehend versus which we did not know. That's a little subtle difference there, because not knowing something doesn't mean you can't comprehend it. It just means you're not aware of it. You know what I'm saying? There's like a subtle difference in wording. Go ahead, Brother Yahusha.
Just a lot of interesting language in this chapter. Like 11, for instance, if a cloud obscures what is precious to him, his light will disperse the cloud. Like Yahusha being covered or being shrouded in cloud. Almost what I see there. Then 7 is interesting. He seals up the hand of every man, that every man may know his own weakness.
Yeah. It could be where Paul was pulling from, where Paul talks about even the Gentiles have a law of their own. I believe that's definitely talking about your conscience there when he says he'll let every man know their own weakness. That definitely shows you that. And that can make sense with what Paul says in Romans. Bees come rest in the lair. Troubles come out. Secret chambers. And the breath of the mighty one, he will send frost. The reason I like the there, it's just the word the makes it a little bit more specific rather than the breath of Alua or Elohim, because, again, it's a generic title. And they don't make distinction in the Hebrew, by the way. When it talks about false mighty ones, it uses the same Hebrew word. So that's why I like it when it says the mighty one or the Alua. He will send frost. He guides the water in whatever way he pleases. Like he's the true mighty one. In a cloud obscures precious, his light will disperse the cloud. Command them. Okay, what has been appointed by him on the earth, whether for correction, for his land, or if he shall find him for mercy. Hearken to this, O Ayub, stand still and be admonished of the power of Yahuwah. Now, versus the wondrous works of Alua. That's another thing you'll see a lot is, like Sister Josie mentioned, you'll have like El or Elohim in the Masoretic, where Yahuwah is supposed to be in the book of Job. I would say Job is the one book it does it a lot. Like it does it a lot. Like, and again, I'll try to remind myself by the end to put in the description box about where we have proof of this. But after the Babylonian captivity, going forward, they started replacing Yahuwah, using Yahuwah's name with, Elohim, Alua. And they started using the title for his name, which, by the way, breaks. Which commandment is it, Mom? The third? Was it? Do not take his name in vain. Which one is that? The third commandment?
Oh,
I would have to go back to that, but I know it's part of the top
I think
five.
so. I think so. Yeah.
It actually breaks one of the top 5 commandments. He says, do not bring my name to nothing. When you just call him Mighty One or call him Allah, it's You're bringing his name to nothing. So even if Islam did serve the Most High, they're, calling whatever deity they serve nothing. They're basically bringing it to nothing. They're just saying, "Oh, mighty one." Anyway, so, and the signal overthrows of the wicked, but your robe is warm and there is quiet upon the land. Will you establish with him for the ancient, strong as a molten mirror? Now, so what it seems like the word software is trying to claim that the heavens, they are the words heavens and they are not in the Greek. I would have to check to make sure that's the case. The word software might be screwing up here. It should be in the text. I mean, I don't know why the Greek would have a sentence break like that. It wouldn't even linguistically make sense. So I think heaven should be in the Greek there. So it would say, for the ancient heavens, they are strong as a molten mirror. Now, I always point this out to people that, are still under the heliocentric stuff. Like, okay, if the world is a globe, right, and the heavens is outer space is not a mirror. Outer space is not a hard structure. So how do you work with that? Even if you go with heliocentrism with the idea of the sky, they'll say, well, it might be talking about the sky. Okay, but how does that work in the heliocentric model? If the sky is as strong as a molten mirror, you're not getting out of the sky. You wouldn't be able to go to the moon. You wouldn't be able to go to Mars. It's not going to work. It's just not. So that's why I say heliocentrism directly opposes what Scripture says. Directly will contradict. Go ahead, Brother Yahusha. I just noticed you had your hand up.
That was an old hand, but on
my
that
bad.
note, the verse 18, it just in context without some of those words aren't there. I'm looking at the ABP. It says, will you solidify with him for things grown old, things which are as strong as the vision of a vessel?
Okay.
Very different.
Yeah, that's weird. What shall we say to him? Let us cease from saying much. It's talking about we speak a lot, we'll sin by our words. Have I a book or a scribe? I think that's supposed to say by me, not my me. That wouldn't even linguistically make sense. That's probably what I would call, what is it called, Mom, when they make a error by typing? That's like typo. I think that's a typo right there, I should say.
Watch out for me. I got to log back out.
Okay, sis, no problem. I'll look out for you. Have I a book or a scribe by me that I may stand and put man to silence? So yeah, that makes a lot more sense than my me. I don't know. Whoever's doing this electronic version of Brenton is making some typos. But the light is not visible to all. It shines afar off in the heavens.
That was fast.
And that which is from him in the clouds. That's interesting.
The Charles Thompson makes that way more confusing. Verse 18.
Oh, wow.
It says, with him are powerful cordials for inveterate disorders. What an appearance of an infusion. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, he's using very old Middle English there. I don't know why he's doing that. His is not that much older than Breton. I mean, you're only talking about 50 years, or if that. I don't know why he would have it read like such old English like that. But the light is not visible to all, shines afar. Okay, so we're at verse 22 here, where it talks about clouds shining like gold. And these great are the esteem and honor of the Almighty. This is interesting. So not just Elua, it says Almighty in the Greek. Now let me just see here. It might actually be something else entirely. I want to look into the Greek of that real quick. Because sometimes it will say that, but then just do a new shared screen, so it's going to show the whole screen. Because I want to actually go to E-sword. Yeah. Okay, so download these. Let's see here. ABP Plus. Let's just go there real quick. And what verse I'm looking for again? So Job 37:22. Just want to look at a word real quick. I want to see what they have in the Greek for Almighty, because sometimes it's supposed to say of armies or whatever. I just want to double check. Oh yeah, this is the word that could possibly even be more specific, like omnipotent. That's right. Pantocrator, who holds sway over all things. The ruler of all. Yeah, I would say Almighty is kind of even a bad translation of it, just that I'm looking at the primary definitions of that Greek word. It actually means like holder of all things, like ruler of all. Omnipotent. I would say omnipotent is definitely a better translation of that Greek word of G3841. All ruling, you know, he's the Lua of heaven and earth, you know. Yeah. It's amazing what the Septuagint will show you there. So versus ruler of all or omnipotent, the omnipotent one versus Elohim. It's kind of interesting how they devalue Yahuwah in the Masoretic there. So it's kind of interesting. And we do not find another his equal in strength. Ooh, I got to use that for a future oneness study. Oh man, I'm going to have fun with that one. That's going to be fun. Job 37:23 does not have an equal. So it's interesting that the JPS Tanakh is worded a lot differently. Excellent in power. And it says nothing about the equality thing. It's kind of interesting. That's interesting. Wherefore men shall fear him, and the wise also in heart shall fear him. Okay, that is hugely different. The JPS Tanakh says, Jewish Publican Society Tanakh says, men do therefore fear him. Oh, okay. Okay, I see what it's saying. I was misreading that. Okay, so men do fear him. Now that's interesting. He says, he regards not any that are wise of heart. So meaning Yahuwah does not believe any human is wise of heart. In the Masoretic, it says that. Septuagint says, and the wise also in heart shall fear him. Whoa, that's vastly different. That is vastly different. See, this is what I mean. You got to be careful here, because there's times that the Masoretic text changes Yahuwah's character. And it's very weird. It's like, obviously, Yahuwah reckons a minority of mankind that are wise in heart, because I'm pretty sure he reckoned Enoch wise in heart. He reckoned Noah wise in heart. So to put all humanity in a lump box to say no one's wise in heart, that doesn't make any sense. So anyway, so I saw a lot of differences there. I would just want to make a little note about that. So Mom, what was the last verse in that chapter? 37 verse. Oh, you're looking somewhere.
Oh, 37,
Well, just what the number was, the last verse in the chapter, just so I can make a mental note.
24.
All right, so verse 24. Okay, so Masoretic text says, no one's wise of heart. Septuagint says, those that are wise of heart fear him. That's definitely a difference there. All right, so let's see. Brother Yahusha, would you like to close us off and read 38?
Yeah, sure. Okay. 38. And after Aliyah had ceased from speaking, Yahuwah spoke to Ayub through the whirlwind and clouds. Who is this that hides counsel from me and confines words in his heart and things to conceal from me? Gird your loins like a man, and I will ask you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I founded the earth? Tell me now if you have knowledge. Who set the measures of it, if you know, or who stretched a line upon it? On what are its rings fastened, and who is he that laid the cornerstone upon it? When the stars were made, all my Malachim praised me with a loud voice. When I shut up the sea with gates, when it rushed out, coming forth out of its mother's womb. And I made a cloud its clothing, and swathed it in mist. And I set bounds to it, and surrounded it with bars and gates. And I said to it, to this point you shall come, but you shall not go beyond, but your way shall be confined within you. Or did I order the morning light in your time, and did the morning star see his appointed place, to lay hold of the extremities of the earth, to cast out the wicked out of it? Or did you take the clay of the ground and form a living creature, and set it with the power of speech upon the earth? Have you removed light from the wicked, and crushed the arm of the proud? Or have you gone to the source of the sea, and walked in the tracks of the deep? And do the gates of death open to you out of fear? And did the porters of Shaul quake when they saw you? And have you been instructed in the breadth of the whole earth under Shemayim? Tell me now, what is the extent of it? And in what land doth the light dwell? And where is the place of darkness? If you could bring me to their uttermost boundaries, and if also you know their past, I know then that you were born at that time, and the number of your years is great. Have you gone to the treasures of snow? Have you seen the treasures of hail? Is there a store of them for you against the time of your enemies, for the day of wars and battles? And from where proceeds the frost? Or where is the south wind dispersed over the whole world under Shemayim? And who prepared a course for the violent rain, and a way for the thunders, to rain upon the land where there is no man, the wilderness where there is not a man in it, so as to feed the untrodden and uninhabited land, and to cause it to send forth a crop of green herbs? Who is the rain's father, and who has generated the drops of the dew? And out of whose womb comes the ice, and who has prepared the frost in the sky, which descends like flowing water? Who has terrified the face of the wicked? And do you understand the band of Pleiades? And have you opened the barrier of Orion? Or will you reveal Mazzaroth in his season, and the evening star with his rays? Will you guide them? Do you know the changes of Shemayim, or the events which take place together under Shemayim? And will you call a cloud by your voice? Will you obey it with a violent shower of much rain? And will you send lightnings, and they shall go? And they shall say to you, what is your pleasure? And who has given to women skill in weaving, or knowledge of embroidery? And who is he that numbers the clouds in wisdom, and has bowed the Shemayim down to the earth? For it is spread out as dusty earth, and I have cemented it as one hewn stone to another. And will you hunt the prey for the lions, and satisfy the desires of the serpents? For they fear in their lairs, crouching and lying in wait in the woods. And who has prepared food for the raven, for its young ones wander and cry to Yahuwah in search of food? Whew. Seems like Ali just got skipped over. He just he started speaking, and it doesn't seem like Ayub heard him, and then Yahuwah just kind of jumped right then.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm really wondering if that commentary about that guy, like Aliu, just kind of spoke out of turn and really didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah. Well, it seems like he's the youngest out of all of them too.
Yeah.
Physically,
Mhm.
he's the youngest, so it seems like he had a lot of overzealousness and kind of just speaking from the heart, and not really knowing how to fully correct Ayub. So kind of Yahuwah just felt like he needed to stop him, be like, so I think, yeah, I would agree. I think that's what happened. Yahuwah kind of just, jumped in front of him to correct Ayub and not let it go any longer.
Mhm.
What I noticed is interesting is, I don't know, is star actually in the verse? That's what I'm curious about in verse 12, because the Septuagint says, or did I order the morning star in your time? The light in your morning light in your time, and the morning star see his appointed place. It's interesting that the JPS Tanaka, the Masoretic, instead of morning star like an angel, it will say day spring to know its place, which that doesn't make sense in context. Because if he's talking about something in the sky knowing its place, spring is a appointed time. I mean, I guess you could say that he's talking about the seasons, maybe, but in this context, it's definitely talking about the heavens. Did I order the morning light in your time? Yeah, so I think the Septuagint makes a little bit more sense. It's talking about, his messengers. And by the way, in 5 verses earlier, he's talking about the messengers as well. In verse 7, I believe, says, when the stars were made, all my messengers praised me with a loud voice. And the Hebrew there is B'nai Elohim, or B'nai Alua, you could say. Okay, so you have, again, Agelos Theos equivalent to B'nai Alua. Okay, or just Agelo there, because there's no Theos there, but you get the point. You got messengers equated to sons of the Father. So again, but yeah, verse 12 is very out of place for me, that they change. It seems like they changed the phrase morning star to daylight, or I don't know, day spring. And it's what's weird too is, like, spring is it's not a live thing. It's a point in time. So the way it's worded doesn't make any sense. To cause day spring to know its place, it's like referring to spring or daylight as a it. Doesn't make any sense there.
Mine reads different on
Yeah,
that.
so maybe that's the JPS Tanakh screwing up there, but if the Masoretic really reads that in the Hebrew, it doesn't make any sense. What does yours say, Mom?
It says, have you ever given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place?
Yeah, dawn is what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Dawn is what I'm talking about. In the Septuagint would say the morning star, its place. So it's talking about an angel in the sky, knowing its place, knowing its course in the heavens, which actually is echoed. If you ever read the book of Enoch, each star, each angel has a appointed place in the sky. So in that context, the Septuagint makes 10 times more sense versus, daylight being an it. Daylight is not an it. It's not a live being. Daylight is the time that the sun shines on the earth. It's not an it. So just that wording there does not make any sense. Like, for it to say sunrise or daylight, to know its place, that doesn't really make any sense. Because isn't like it a possessive verb? Isn't that supposed to be like,
It doesn't have to mean a person, though. If
Oh,
I
okay.
walk into the kitchen
yeah,
and
that's true.
I ask you like, what happened to this vase? You
Yeah.
can say it fell.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Yeah, so I just found that a little weird that there's a huge difference there between the Septuagint and the Masoretic. One's talking about like sunrise or daylight. The other is actually talking about a star, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be a huge difference there, which makes more sense.
That's where that new
What was that, sis? Let me see here. What verse was I looking at real quick? Yeah, verse 12. So 38, verse 12. Just want to look at the Greek here to make sure star is there.
Yeah, oh, I was talking to myself. Babe, that's probably where these new calendar people are coming from, where day breaks or the minute the sun starts to rise is when they start to do Shabbat.
I don't know how you could use that for that, but it's just saying that that daylight knows its place, knows its ordinance. I don't see how they could get that, because that's all it's saying. Even in the Masoretic, saying have you commanded the morning in your days, and oh, I see. They're eisegetically looking at the phrase "in your days," and yeah, they're calculating then. But if that's the case, then you would have to do morning to morning. You can't do morning to evening. If a
Right.
day,
So they stop at Sunday morning.
yeah. So the only way you could calculate that is by taking your own interpretation into that verse, because yeah, have you commanded the morning in your days, plural, and caused dawn to know its place? That's just saying that in the days of your life, have you commanded to the morning to come and stuff like that. So the whole purpose
Crazy, right?
is talking about the order of things, not that dawn starts a day.
Yeah, but he didn't say he said in days, not in nights. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that I could see them using that, which is kind of funny because the Septuagint doesn't even sound anything like that. And that's what I find weird, is like, how do they get day from morning star? That to me is weird, because unless that's just a translator thing with Breton, that's a whole different concept. That's unexpressed in the English. See, this is a problem here. I always have problems trying to look at it because the ABP plus does not give you what you see in the English. So it's like very confusing. Like even their own translation, it's like, it's hard to figure out what it's actually saying. But if it is Morning Star, it would make perfect sense, because it's talking about, a messenger being in its place in the sky. Until yeah, why does it say that? That can't be what that word means. That would make no logical sense. Conjunct till until what? Oh no, here's the actual word. Day. DE over. Yeah, it's very confusing. So I can't even prove that one, because the stupid lexicon and concordance is not matching what the translation says. So anyway, but to me, if it is Morning Star in there in the Codex Vaticanus or whatever source Breton's using, it makes perfect sense to me. Just because I know about the stars have their own courses and all that, makes 10 times more sense to me. So lay hold the extremities of the earth to cast out the wicked out of it. Again, who's removed from the earth, not us. Okay. Cast out the wicked. So the tares are the ones removed. Did you take clay of the ground and form a living creature
I want to take my little one.
and set it
okay,
with the power
chiquita.
upon the earth?
I'll take my chiquita.
Wow, this is different.
Where the studies are?
Okay, that is different. What the heck? First of all, one's talking about Yahuwah in first person, talking about, did you make a human being like I did out of clay? Versus, it is changed as clay under the seal, they stand as a garment. So one
That
would be,
reminds me of their golem type thing. That's what that reminds me of.
yeah, I wonder why they took away half of that verse. It's very weird. Because most people have interpreted this verse to talk about the earth itself and, like the flat earth, it's a seal, it's shaped like a seal of clay. So it's weird how it's supposedly different to the Septuagint in that verse. Jeez, that is a lot different. Arm of the proud. Have you gone to the source of the sea and walked in the tracks of the deep? Interesting. This is an interesting concept. So Yahuwah is saying, have you, like me, walked in the deep, in the deep depths of the sea? Have you entered in springs of the sea? What? Unless it's talking about springs of the abyss. That's the only way that makes sense. I don't know. That's a little weird. Some of the JPS Tanakh wording I don't like. It's like very modern. But anyway, that's talking about the waters under the waters. Do the gates of Sheol open to you for fear? This sounds similar to something in Revelations. I don't know, like I have the keys to Sheol and Hades. Did the porters of Sheol quake when they saw you? Oh man, I could use this so much for the oneness study. Oh man.
I like the way mine words it about the waves, the sea.
Yeah. Well, what does verse 17 say in your NIV?
Okay.
I'm just curious.
17. Have the gates of death been shown to you? Have you seen the gates of the shadow of death?
Yeah,
And
it's
footnote, deep shadows. Gates of deep shadows.
It's kind of watered down because the Septuagint is talking about them fearing him, like the gates of Sheol and under the earth are fearing him, like how you got waters of the abyss. I like how the Septuagint reads it because you get a parallel with Yahusha talking about, I have the keys to Sheol and Hades, so it's Hades, basically the waters of the abyss, the gates to those waters are fearing him. There's like gates under the earth.
I was kind of referring to verse 11.
Okay.
Mine says, when I said, this far you may come and no farther. Here is where your proud waves halt. It'd be real kind of, it's kind of strongly worded, like you won't go any further.
Let's see. And in what kind of land does the light dwell? And of what kind is the place of darkness? If you could bring me to their boundaries, if you also know their paths, I know then that you were born at that time, and the number of your years is great. But you have gone to the treasures of snow. Have you gone to the treasures of snow? Have you seen the treasures of hail? By the way, I believe there's a parallel to this in the book of Enoch, talking about the treasures of snow and all that, if I'm not mistaken, where it starts talking about there's a spirit of hail and all that. There is a store for you against the time enemies for the day of wars and battle. And where proceeds the frost, the south wind dispersed over under heaven. Who prepared the course for the violent rain and a way for the thunders and rain upon the land where no man, the wilderness, where there is not a man in it so as to feed the untrodden and uninhabited and cause it to send forth a crop of green herbs? Who is the rain's father and who has generated the drops of dew? And out of whose womb comes the ice? Who has produced the frost in the sky, which descends like flowing water? Who has terrified the face of the wicked? Interesting. It's interesting how this is left out. No mention about that there in verse 30. Who has terrified the face of the wicked? So I like how, I don't like, but I find it funny how the Masoretes leave that out. And do you understand
It
the band?
seems like they're saying they are agreeing with it. They're just wording it in a very different way. It says the face of the deep is frozen
Yeah.
versus who has terrified the face of the wicked.
Yeah, like you
Oh,
would have
wait,
to,
go ahead.
you would like, to your point, you would have to allegorically understand the deep as people, like or waters as people to get that. Because it's like, if I interpret that literally, I'm thinking of like the face of the deep, like literal waters of the abyss was frozen. So it's like, yeah, if you understand prophetic language, to your point, you could get that. Some people out there wouldn't. Some people that don't know prophetic language wouldn't understand that. But yeah, I do get your point though. There, you could interpret that allegorically as people. And then yeah, Pleiades, have you opened the barrier of Orion? And again, this is not saying go and do the Mazzaroth. I'm sick and tired of seeing that out there. This is not promoting the zodiac, okay?
Yeah.
I really, this is one of my pet peeves, brothers and sisters. This is not promoting going into astrology, okay? He's
Yeah.
saying, do you understand the order of the constellations? That's all he's saying.
Mhm.
Do you know where they are in the sky? Do you
Yeah.
know that I put a barrier for this constellation not to go past its ordinance? That's all he's saying. He's not saying go and try to read your future. That's not what he's saying. Or will you reveal the Mazzaroth in its season and the evening star with his rays? Will you guide them? And again, it's not telling you to go and try to figure out the Mazzaroth. It's just saying, have you revealed the constellations in their season, in their appointed time? That's all it's saying. It's not. So yeah, I've seen people try to use that and try to use this, for lack for a better word, recycled zodiac as something Hebrew. You know, but anyway, so talks about, do you know the changes of heaven or the events which take place together under heaven? Okay, so it seems like now he's talking about almost like prophecy in the Septuagint there. Do you know the changes of heaven? Now that's interesting. I want to write that down because that's something Yahusha alludes to in the Brit Hadashah. He says, you know, you can know the weather, you can know this, you can know that, but how do you not know the signs of the times? It's interesting, the Septuagint version of this verse parallels with that. It says, do you know the changes of heaven or the events which take place together under heaven? Now that seems to be talking about what Yahusha talked about.
Yeah, you know the signs.
Will you call a cloud with your voice? Will it obey you with a violent shower of much rain? Will you send lightnings? They shall go, and shall they say to you, what is, or what is your pleasure? It seems to be inferred there. And who has given to women skill in weaving or knowledge of embroidery? Who is he that numbers the clouds in wisdom? I like how it says, numbers the clouds in wisdom. Like, you know, Genesis 1:1 in the Jerusalem Targum would say, in wisdom Yahuwah created. find that interesting. So this seems to be talking about the person wisdom, not just, knowledge or prudence. So numbered the clouds
Do you
in
think that's
wisdom.
saying that he feels that it's a woman's thing to do
No.
embroidery and whatnot?
Well,
I
I
find it interesting.
like a gift. The way I look at it, it's like not a spiritual gift, but a physical gift.
Right.
That embroidery was usually he gave it to women. I mean, there's some men that have a gift for it, but
Because men do it today, but I'm not sure if they're.
that could be
really-
more like learning it. I think that's more of a
No.
learned skill by
Or,
men.
Let's be honest, a lot of men are doing a lot of things these
Yeah.
days, so you know what?
As
it
far
might not
as
be in his.
as far as a gift, though, I don't think he ever gave men that gift. I
Right,
think
right.
to naturally know how to embroider, to naturally know how to do that and threading and all that. I think that men that do know how to do that today, I wouldn't be surprised if a majority of them learned it from somewhere. If it wasn't a natural gift, they
Yeah.
they watched YouTube or their mother taught them or this or that. I doubt it's a natural gift, like by the Most High, because usually it is given to women. Usually it is. And you hunt to prey for the lions and satisfy the desire of. Now this is what's weird to me. Desire the serpents. That can't be right. Let me just see something really quick. That doesn't make any sense. Why there's such a difference there. I think it might be even dragon is supposed to be there in verse 39. Because I know why it would be lions in the it's dragon. Dracon. So this is my pet peeve with Breton sometimes that I don't like is that he translates Dracon as serpent, which makes no sense because there's a separate Greek word for serpent, which is ophis. So why he does this, I will never understand. So right here, as you can see, dragon. So it would actually say, will you hunt for the lions a prey, the souls. So let me see here. So if it's dragon there, it would actually say satisfy the soul of dragon. So this is talking about a literal dragon, guys. This is not allegorical talking about Satan. This is talking about a literal dragon. Now, the reason it would say lions sometimes in the Hebrew, I think it should be dragon in the Hebrew as well, but sometimes, oh no, it is a different word. Okay. Because sometimes they'll have tamim, and I noticed that tamim is sometimes mistranslated as lion sometimes. No, this is lion, kefer. Okay. So there is a difference here. I wonder why it would, in the Hebrew, they would change it to young lion, unless they're trying to hide that.
Mine says lioness, do you hunt the prey?
Yeah.
Because the lionesses do the
Well,
prey.
also because in the Hebrew, Mom, the word for lion might have a feminine suffix or
Mhm,
whatever,
mhm.
or so it's weird the modern Hebrew how that
Mhm.
goes. It's weird like that. So, but the bigger point is that the Greek has dragons, the Hebrew has lions. Why there's a difference like that, I don't know why there's that much of a difference, but just something I want to take a note of. So 38 verse 39. LXX dragons, dracon, and Masoretic text has young lions or lioness.
Yeah. It gives the prey to the lioness.
I mean, it's both valid. It's just weird that there's that much of a disparity between the two versions. Like, why? It's just weird. For they fear in their lairs and lie in wait, couch in the woods. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so dragons in the woods. Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't want to go in any woods. Who has prepared food for the raven, for its young ones wander, and cry to Yahuwah in search of food?
Mhm.
Wow. So again, we have in this verse the Masoretic text again substitutes Elohim or Alua for Yahuwah here.
Mhm.
All right, so that's the end of the study for today. There's nothing more I could really expound upon here, but as we continually see here, the tradition of substituting his name for a title is continuing here. So just something to keep a note on. So anyway, I'm gonna put in the description of the video, guys, proof of how this tradition happened and why the Masoretic text, especially in the book of Job, seems to not honor Yahuwah's name as frequent as the Septuagint does, and how that could have happened through history and post-Babylonian captivity. Proof of that it became a oral tradition, a rabbinical tradition to do that. So I'll be giving you guys links to Encyclopedia Britannica and other links. I think Wikipedia might have something on it, but there's a huge article in Encyclopedia Britannica about that topic, how Yahuwah started getting substituted with Elohim and all that, even orally substituted, how they would not use Yahuwah's name anymore because they felt that they felt like their Elohim was like superior, so why do they need to use his name? That was their rabbinical thought process. Like, well, he's superior to all the other fake mighty ones. Why do we need to use his name and this and that? So, and eventually they started having other Talmudic, traditions like, his name is too sacred to be uttered, this and that. And you guys can find that yourselves if you research for, the Masoretes in their own books, what they've claimed, in their own rabbinical tradition. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and please stay tuned. Yahuwah willing, we'll be back on next Sabbath evening. And to all of our brothers and sisters out there, have a great rest of your Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom, and see you next time.